Today, let's talk about GMM Pfaudler. They're a really big deal in the chemical and pharmaceutical industries. We're going to dive into how they navigated a seriously tough year and how they didn't just survive it, they actually dug deeper on their commitments to the planet and to people. Let's see how they pulled it off. This quote from their own report, it really tells you everything. This wasn't just another 12 months for them. It was a time of huge change. It was a year that forced them to really think on their feet and prove just how strong they were in a pretty shaky global market. So this whole idea of transition and resilience, that's really the heart of their story. You know, this image of a lighthouse is the perfect way to think about what they were trying to do. In a foggy, really uncertain economy, GMM Pfaudler wanted to be that steady light for the industries they serve. So the question is, just how stormy were the seas they were sailing through?
All right, so let's set the scene here. Let's start by looking at the actual challenges they were up against. This past year was really defined by some major outside pressures that were testing companies all over the world, not just GMM Pfaudler. Now, what's so interesting here is how all these things are connected. It's like a domino effect, right? Geopolitical tensions create a ton of uncertainty, and that slows down trade. When trade slows down, big industries like the chemical sector get super cautious about spending money on new projects. All of this came together to create a perfect storm of headwinds for GMM Pfaudler.
So how do you get through a storm like that? Well, you don't just drop anchor and hope for the best. You need a clear, proactive strategy. Let's take a look at exactly how GMM Pfaudler fought back. First, though, it helps to understand what they actually do. GMM Pfaudler makes this incredibly specialized equipment, like these glass-lined reactors. Now, these aren't just big tanks. They are the absolute heart of these super complex manufacturing processes for chemicals and pharma. And we're not just talking about individual parts here. Think bigger. They build entire systems, these sprawling, complex networks of pipes and vessels that are absolutely essential for making everything from life-saving drugs to cutting-edge materials. Their whole strategy is really built on this deep expertise. So here's the game plan, their four-part response. First, they streamlined their operations all over the world to be more efficient. Then, they worked on selling more to the customers they already had. They kept pushing the envelope on new products. And, this is crucial, they started moving into new industries to spread their risk. This wasn't just about doing one thing well. It was about building a stronger, more flexible business from every possible angle. Okay, so a great strategy is one thing. But did it actually work? Did it pay off? Well, as they say, the numbers don't lie. Think about this. Despite all those global challenges we just talked about, they still pulled in nearly 3,200 crore rupees in revenue. That shows some serious stability in a market where a lot of companies were really struggling. Their EBITDA, which is basically a good way to measure a company's real-world operational health, was 381 crore. This shows that their core business stayed incredibly strong, even with all the chaos. But for me, this might be the most impressive number on the board. A free cash flow of 318 crore rupees. You know, cash is king, especially when things are uncertain. Having that much cash on hand gives them incredible power and flexibility to invest in what's next. And that's the real takeaway here. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. This financial muscle is the engine that allows them to chase their bigger goals, to pioneer new technologies, and to make real, meaningful investments in sustainability. And that brings us to, honestly, what I think is the most compelling part of their whole story, their deep commitment to environmental, social, and governance principles. You know, ESG. This is all about creating value that goes way beyond just profit. So let's kick things off with a huge environmental win. Get this, an incredible 97% of all their waste was kept out of landfills because it was either recycled or reused. In heavy industry, that is a massive achievement. It shows they're serious about this stuff. And their work goes way beyond the factory floor. You can see the impact right here. They're literally taking barren, empty land and turning it into these thriving green areas, which is great for the soil and for local wildlife. And their commitment stretches all the way from the land to the sea, with this really cool project to help restore coral reefs in the Andaman Islands. And back home at their own facilities, they managed to slash their greenhouse gas emissions by a very significant 14%.
Okay, so let's move to the S in ESG, social responsibility. Through programs like Project Sparsh, they're not just writing checks, they're actively improving healthcare for people by supporting health workers in rural areas and helping to upgrade hospitals.
And the impact is real. You can count it. Over the last 8 years, their health camps have provided consultations to more than 88,000 patients. That's a massive, direct, positive impact on thousands of people's lives.
And finally, the G for governance. Because let's be real, none of this other good stuff can happen without a strong, ethical, and transparent way of running the company. It's the foundation for all of it.
And you can really see their commitments doing things the right way when you look at who's making the decisions. Check this out. Their audit and nomination committees are made up 100% of independent directors. That's a big deal. It helps ensure that decisions are being made with integrity and for the good of everyone involved, not just a few insiders.
So they've weathered the storm, they've got this strong sense of responsibility. So what's next for GMM Pfaudler? Well, now it's all about innovating for the future.
And they're really pushing the envelope on so many fronts. We're talking about more efficient reactor systems that create less waste, using AI to make their own company run smoother, and their new advanced test center isn't just for them, it's to help their customers. It all ties back to this bigger goal of designing tech that isn't just better, but more sustainable, helping the full industry cut its carbon footprint.
You know, when you look at GMM Pfaudler's journey through such a tough year, it leaves you with this really powerful question. Their story seems to suggest an answer, that by blending financial toughness with a real, genuine commitment to doing right by the planet and its people, a company can do a lot more than just survive. It can actually lead the way forward. Thanks for joining me.